You're all welcome to today's deep news analysis. This is not noise. This is serious. What happened in the middle of the night on Christmas Day has opened a big wound in Nigeria's security debate. If you care about Nigeria, stay with me till the end. And before we go deep, subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications, so you don't miss important updates like this. Now let's talk. On December 25th, while many Nigerians were asleep, something heavy happened. At midnight, a US military strike hit a bandits camp in Sokoto State. No long talk. No warning to the public. Just action. This was not a drill. This was not theory. This was real power, real fire, and real consequences. For years, Nigerians have complained. Bandits move freely.
Village cry.
Security feels slow. Then suddenly, boom. A foreign force steps in. To some people, it felt like help. To others, it felt like a red line was crossed. And that is where the real story begins. This strike did not come from rumors or social media talk. It came from a long build-up of pressure, fear, and failure. Northern communities have lived with constant threats for years. Kidnapping, raids, and silent nights filled with panic became normal. People stopped expecting peace. They only hoped to survive. So when news of the strike broke, it spread fast. Not because details were clear, but because the message was loud. Something unusual had happened. Something strong. Something that changed the mood. Many Nigerians asked the same question at once. Why now? Christmas night is symbolic. A night known for peace, family, and rest. Yet it became a night of force and decision. That timing alone added weight to the event. It made people pause. It made people uneasy. This was not Nigeria's military acting alone. That is what made it different. The presence of the United States changed the meaning of the action. It moved the story from local security to global involvement. Some people felt relief. They said, at last, someone is serious. They saw the strike as proof that bandits are not untouchable. That power can reach even the places where fear has ruled. Others felt discomfort. They asked why Nigeria needed help from outside to handle its own problem. They worried about control, pride, and future consequences. The silence before the strike mattered. There were no public statements.
No loud warnings.
No political drama before it happened. Just quiet planning and sudden force. That silence made the impact stronger. In Nigeria, silence often means something big is coming. And this time, it did. This strike also reopened old wounds. For years, people have argued about foreign involvement. Some say it brings skill and speed. Others say it brings influence and loss of control. The midnight strike pushed that debate back into the center. What made it heavier was the location. Sokoto State carries history, culture, and deep religious meaning. Any major action there will always attract attention. It is not just land. It is symbol. By morning, reactions were mixed. Some praised the move. Some questioned it. Some stayed quiet, watching carefully. The country did not speak with one voice. And that lack of one voice is important. Because when a nation is divided in feeling, every action becomes dangerous. Even good intentions can lead to bad outcomes. Even strong moves can create new problems. The strike showed strength, but it also showed tension. It showed urgency, but also exposed fear. It showed cooperation, but also raised questions of limits. This was not just about bandits. It was about trust. Trust in leadership. Trust in strategy. Trust in the future. When a foreign military acts on Nigerian soil, it changes the story. It adds layers. It forces hard questions that cannot be avoided. Who approved it? Who controls it? Who answers if things go wrong? These questions started quietly that morning. They did not need shouting. They sat in people's minds, heavy and unanswered. The midnight strike did not end the bandit problem. It did not close the chapter. It opened a new one. And before Nigerians could fully process what happened, another voice entered the conversation. A strong voice. A controversial voice. That voice would turn a military action into a national argument. And that is where the tension truly began. Not long after the strike, Sheikh Ahmad Gumi spoke. He did not whisper. He did not delay. He went straight to the point. Gumi called for an immediate and total ban on US-Nigeria military cooperation. No conditions. No soft language. No room for negotiation. That single call landed like a stone in water. The ripples spread fast. Sheikh Gumi is not an unknown figure in Nigeria. He is a respected cleric to many, a controversial voice to others, and a man whose words always travel far. When he speaks, people listen, even when they strongly disagree. This time, his message was clear. Foreign soldiers should not be involved in Nigeria's internal security. He framed his argument around sovereignty, control, and national dignity. In his view, allowing another country's military to strike targets inside Nigeria crosses a dangerous line. To his supporters, this was a bold stand. They saw a man warning Nigeria before it becomes dependent. They argued that once foreign forces gain space, they rarely leave quietly. They feared a future where Nigeria loses full command over its own decisions. But to his critics, the call felt deeply troubling. They asked why the anger came so fast after a strike on bandits. They questioned why Gumi's voice rose against the helpers instead of against the killers who have terrorized communities for years. Some felt his response lacked empathy for victims of bandit attacks. The timing of his statement mattered. Emotions were already high. The country was still trying to understand what had happened. And then came a demand that sounded final, sharp, and uncompromising. That tone changed everything. Instead of a calm debate, the conversation became heated. Social media exploded. Radio stations lit up. Homes, offices, and roadside discussions all turned to the same topic. Is Sheikh Gumi protecting Nigeria, or complicating Nigeria's fight for peace? His past statements were pulled back into the spotlight. People remembered earlier comments where he suggested dialogue with bandits. To some, this showed a desire for peace. To others, it showed dangerous softness. Fair or not, perception matters in public life. And the perception around Gumi is already complex. What made this moment even more sensitive was trust. Nigerians have lost trust in many systems. So when someone challenges a rare show of force against bandits, people react strongly. Some asked a simple question: if not this, then what? Years of complaints. Years of promises. Years of fear. And now, when a strong move finally happens, it is rejected? Others pushed back, saying force without full control is risky. They warned that today's help could become tomorrow's pressure. They argued that Nigeria must fix its own house, even if it takes longer. This clash of views revealed something deeper. Nigeria is not just fighting bandits. Nigeria is fighting confusion about direction. Gumi's call forced Nigerians to confront an uncomfortable truth: there is no agreement on the path forward. Security, pride, survival, and politics are all pulling in different directions. His words also tested leadership. Silence from authorities became louder than any statement. People waited to see who would respond, who would support, and who would push back. Because when a powerful religious figure challenges military cooperation, it is no longer just security talk. It becomes social. It becomes political. It becomes emotional. In moments like this, every word matters. And every silence matters too. What started as a military strike had now turned into a battle of ideas. And those ideas were colliding in the open, with no clear winner. The country was no longer asking what happened in the night. The country was now asking what kind of future it wants to wake up to. This moment is bigger than one cleric. Bigger than one strike. Bigger than one night. What Nigeria is facing now is a choice. A hard one. For years, bandits have tested the limits of the state. They moved fast, struck deep, and left pain behind. Communities adapted to fear. Parents slept lightly. Children learned danger too early. And trust in protection kept dropping. Then came a sudden show of strength. Not perfect. Not clean, but strong. And now, the argument is no longer only about bandits. It is about direction. If Nigeria accepts foreign military help, the state gains speed and power. But it also opens the door to questions of control. Who sets the rules? Who decides the next move? And what happens when interests change? If Nigeria rejects that help, the state keeps full authority. But it also carries full responsibility.
No excuses.
No outside shield. Just results or failure. That is the pressure point. This debate is dangerous because it is emotional. People are tired. Tired people do not think in long plans. They think in survival. And survival makes every strong action look attractive. At the same time, history has taught painful lessons. Foreign involvement rarely stays small. It grows. It demands. It shapes outcomes in quiet ways. That fear is real. It cannot be ignored. But fear of bandits is also real. And it is daily. Nigeria is standing between two fears. One fear of losing control. Another fear of losing lives. That is why voices like Gumi's matter, even when people disagree. And that is why reactions against him are just as strong. Both sides believe they are protecting Nigeria. The danger now is division. When security becomes a fight between voices instead of a shared goal, progress slows. When trust breaks, rumors grow. When leadership stays quiet, confusion fills the gap. Bandits benefit from confusion. Chaos is their cover. Nigeria cannot afford mixed signals. It cannot afford unclear lines. Whether with partners or alone, the path must be firm and owned. This is the moment where leadership must speak clearly. Not with anger. Not with pride. But with direction. Because if the country drifts, others will steer it. And if the country argues endlessly, the problem will keep winning. The midnight strike was loud. The response was louder. But what comes next will matter more than both. Nigeria must decide if it wants strength without control, or control without help, or a careful balance that protects both life and sovereignty. There is no easy answer. Only consequences. And the choices made now will not fade with the news cycle. They will shape security, trust, and power for years to come. This is not just a story to watch. It is a moment to understand. Because the future is already moving, and it will not wait. This is where everything comes together. What we are watching is not just a news story. It is a warning. A signal. A moment that tells us how fragile Nigeria's security path really is. One midnight strike exposed years of pressure. One public statement exposed years of division. And now the country is left standing in the middle, asking hard questions with no easy answers. Nigeria wants peace. That part is clear. No community wants to live under fear. No parent wants to count days instead of dreams. No nation wants to look weak inside its own borders. But peace is not just about force. And peace is not just about pride. It is about trust. Trust in leaders. Trust in plans. Trust that lives matter more than politics. Right now, that trust is stretched thin. Some Nigerians believe strong action is the only language bandits understand. They are tired of talks that go nowhere. Tired of promises that expire. Tired of funerals that repeat. Others believe that letting foreign forces step in is a dangerous shortcut. They fear that today's help could become tomorrow's control. They worry that Nigeria could lose its voice slowly, without noticing. Both fears are valid. That is what makes this moment so heavy. The problem is not disagreement. A country can argue and still move forward. The real danger is silence from authority and confusion in direction. When leaders do not speak clearly, louder voices take over. When plans are not explained, rumors fill the gap. When unity breaks, threats grow stronger. Bandits do not need to win battles. They only need Nigeria to argue long enough. That is the truth many people avoid. This is why this moment matters. Not because of one cleric. Not because of one foreign partner. But because Nigeria is being forced to define its red lines. What is acceptable help? What is unacceptable control? Who decides? And who answers to the people? These questions cannot be pushed aside. They must be faced openly, honestly, and with maturity. Nigeria does not need noise. Nigeria needs clarity. Security is not a performance. It is a responsibility. And every action taken now must be measured against one simple thing. Does it protect Nigerian lives today, without endangering Nigeria's future tomorrow? That balance is hard. But it is necessary. The midnight strike has passed. The statements have been made. The arguments are loud. But what happens next will define more than headlines. It will define trust. It will define authority. It will define the road ahead. As citizens, we must watch carefully. Not with blind loyalty. Not with blind anger. But with awareness. Ask questions. Demand clarity. Refuse fear-based decisions. And remember that a divided nation is always weaker than the threats it faces. This story is not over. It is only unfolding. And how it ends will depend on choices made now, quietly, firmly, and with courage. If you found this analysis important, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you stay informed as this story develops. Share this video so others can understand what is really at stake. Nigeria is watching. History is recording. And the future is listening.